Well, hello, dear listeners and dear viewers, and welcome to another episode of the Global Advocate Career Podcast. Today, I'm going outside. It's a beautiful day here in Connecticut, and it's fresh air, right, David? And we're actually heading over to Switzerland. Yes, we're in Switzerland today, and we're interviewing a dear colleague of mine, someone who I want you to get to know. His name is David Karasek. David is a quantum sports psychologist. Very interesting. Looking forward to having a nice conversation with you, David. Welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me on. It's great to be here. And as we just talked in Switzerland, unfortunately, not so nice weather. But winter's coming.
Winter's coming. That's right. Winter's coming, and we're alive. We're healthy. So there's a lot to be grateful for, right, David?
Yeah, gratefulness. That's a good topic to hit it off, because that's, if you ask me, right? Great. I mean, feeling grateful. If we're not feeling grateful today, we're not going to be grateful tomorrow, not in a week, not when we get stuff, So I think that's one of the simplest and easiest things to start doing, is like to get into a whatever suits you, right? A gratitude practice every day a little bit. Would you agree?
That's right. Having an attitude of gratitude is essential. Folks who knows, maybe someone's listening that's like, well, I don't have anything to be grateful for right now. Things are bad. I don't have a job. My health is not great. I know friends who have had COVID. Some are no longer here. But at the end, I think the best way is to start with an attitude of gratitude. Right, David?
Yeah, I would say, I would take it that far and actually make that claim that if you're not feeling grateful for what you have today, you're never gonna, you're not gonna be fulfilled, but you're also not gonna create what you would love to create if you're not grateful, because we gotta be and embody the person that we want to become in the now. And a gratefulness just connects us to all these. It's a high vibration, one of the highest vibrations we can be on. And that's the cool thing. It's like so simple to do, right? You could say confidence. It takes like a bit of time to develop and all that, because you learn it through experience. But with gratitude, it's like you can wake up in the morning and just be grateful. And then I agree, sometimes it is rough, right?
Yes.
But you'll always find something that you can be grateful for, even if it's something very small, or, could be your heart. It's beating, you're waking up, it's another day, right? You're given another, small things, but I absolutely believe one of the easiest and fastest ways to get started on that beautiful journey is to be grateful.
Yeah, I think what we're talking about here is a mindset, and we're coaches, and as coaches, our role is to help our clients to get that mindset to achieve what they want. This isn't quackery, okay? But in this world where there's a lot of negative impressions, it's important to set a positive one for oneself. So that vibration that you're referencing, David, is absolutely accurate. I make every effort, my family and I, to practice that every day. Let's talk a little bit about how that has permeated your career, since you have been a very successful swimmer. How has this mindset helped you in your career?
Yeah. So look, the full truth of the story is, right, that I'm 34 now. I was swimming until 26, and I started discovering, or somebody introduced me to all that mindset stuff when I was 30. So that meant when I was swimming, I was painfully unaware of what was going on, right? But I can look back on it now. And what I can tell you, what really, I think, defined me was that in sports, you getting feedback really quickly, right? You change something, it works, and you see, oh, I'm getting faster, I'm swimming faster, do more of that. And the other way, if you find, okay, this is not working, do less of it, right? Super simple. But then as I transitioned into the workforce, all of a sudden, the feedback wasn't as direct as I was used to, and creations took a lot more time. And I wasn't used to that time lag. And then, I started questioning myself, and there was a lot more variables, like my boss, my colleagues, the bank as a whole, the economy, what the central banks were doing, so many variables.
Yes.
And I just felt like I wasn't powerful anymore, because I couldn't control it.
So, okay, so hold on, because
Yeah.
you're the quantum psychologist. So for someone who's listening to this, they're probably like, okay, how does that apply in my day to day? I think you're starting off at a great point where there's a lot of things happening externally,
Yeah.
right, that we are not able to control, right, David?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so how can we then turn inward and make things work for us?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's great that you say it and that you break it down like that, because that's exactly what I wanted to say, right? I gave the power to my circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so, all right. So what that means, I mean, let's just walk through it logically. If I have like this amount of power
Yeah.
and I give that to the circumstances that I can't change, what am I doing? I'm making myself less powerful.
Yes. You're dispelling your energy.
Exactly. So to change that is like you stop giving the power to the circumstances and you bring the power back and you look inward. And then, as they say in the spiritual, that's why quantum for me is just like spiritual in a sense, not necessarily guru style,
Right.
but it's non-physical concepts, right? And spirituality just, it's a shortcut to bring that energy back, to make you more powerful, because you're looking inward and you change your thoughts, you're going to change the way you see the world. You change the assumptions that you have, and all of a sudden the world, like the next day, the world looks different.
Okay. Hold it right there.
Yeah.
Hold it right there. Makes sense to me. But for a listener that's listening, hearing this, well, how do I do it? Right? How do I do it? Particularly when no one has said this before. In other words, what we're saying for some could be actually quite groundbreaking. In other words, don't listen to the news. Don't listen to what your mother, your brother, your sister, your father, anyone is saying. Go inward and build yourself up.
Exactly. And if it helps, go and research other people, and don't just look or listen to the or last chapter of their lives when they're like the best in the world and super successful. Look at their journey.
Yes.
And find the pattern, and you will see that all of them, the change, the success started to come when they started to look inward, because everything else doesn't make any sense. So the first step is like, you got to have a desire, and you got to see that this is possible. And how you can do that is you look at other people and you get inspired, right? And just assume, well, we may look different, have different colors and different hair, different noses, whatever. Yours is nice and straight. Mine is, not nice. But it doesn't matter. We have the same infinite potential. And that's a spiritual idea, but it's a spiritual truth. And it is a truth.
It is a truth.
Right?
It is a truth. It's an absolute truth. And if you see things flying around here, since I'm outdoors like a big bee, and I just put the video off for a minute, just bear with me, because there's a huge bee right in front of me. Okay. But you're absolutely correct. What I will say is that for myself, it took a while for me to get to that point, right? Because throughout my career, working with individuals, public figures, individuals that, for all intents and purposes in society rank, you put your importance to those external opportunities, right? And I found that I wasn't developing myself. What I want to say, that's a comment. An observation is, David, even though you just remarked that you didn't realize your full potential till after you're swimming the stage in your career, you did have faith in yourself enough to be successful in that space, right? Like, you did know you had that potential.
Unconsciously, though.
Okay.
And I mean, I also look, Michelle, this is another thing, is a great lesson from my swimming. And I encourage, that's why I love working with athletes, but it doesn't matter really, because most people don't have a vision that's really like a big vision, because they don't allow themselves. And that's what happened to me. I did have the Olympic dream, the Olympic gold dream, when I was 7 or 8 years old, right? But that dream was smashed in front of me by the adults around me, right? That were saying, go to school. We'll see about swimming later. You got to be realistic. This is not for you. And
really,
I didn't have Yeah, Switzerland is a bit different now. It's catching up to the American mindset with like, we can do it. But back, I mean, and it's still different. But so that dream was gone. And then for the rest of my swimming career, I always got what I was able to see in my mind. So if I saw I could make it to the Olympics, that's what I did. But I never saw myself as being in a final or even a medal. Like I never allowed myself to ever think about that again. And throughout my career, I got what I could see in my mind. So there's a lesson is like, you don't need to go out and brag and be a cocky asshole, but you got to allow yourself to dream big, and you don't have to go out like Muhammad Ali. I'm the best ever. I'm going to knock you out. Like, but for yourself, you got to have a big dream, and you can believe in it because it's possible. Nobody knows what you're capable of. Nobody.
I agree. I think that, it's listening to you. I think there's nothing wrong with being confident in your abilities, right? Right. Because that is ultimately a reflection of how you view yourself. I think bragging, right? And if I'm understanding you correctly, bragging really focuses on proving something to others. Mm-hmm. And I think this is where it may come across as disingenuous, and you're doing a disservice to yourself because you're really acting on your behavior is dictated by others, right? The reaction of others. Is that?
And your own lack, right? So if I don't feel pretty and I tell myself in the mirror every morning, that's why affirmations don't work. It's like, oh, I'm pretty, I look good, I'm sexy, right? My subconscious is going, well, why is he saying that? If he really believed it, he wouldn't be saying that. So it actually does the opposite. It's like it undermines, because somebody who does feel pretty wouldn't be saying that.
That's interesting. Hold that thought a minute, because we do hear a lot, and I certainly have, that affirmations are a great way to remind yourself, and we know this through neuroplasticity, that when you repeat something, eventually it sticks. So it's interesting to hear that you feel affirmations don't work because because you're just repeating stuff and not absorbing it. Is that what you're saying?
It's actually, look, but the way I was taught, there's a good example. Let's take money.
Okay.
These new age, it's mostly like new age spiritual people. They have the fridge magnets. Life is abundant. Money is flowing my way. There's enough money for everybody. They smell the dollar bills and they do everything, right?
Right.
Picture the bank account and they have no money. They're poor. Why is that? Because they have the vision, but they don't look at where they're coming from. They don't have a current reality in comparison to that vision. And think about it, GPS. If you know where you're going, but you have no idea where you are, it's not working. You need 2 points. You need to know where you go and you need to know where you are. And so the subconscious looks just like, as much as it looks at where you want to go, at your vision that you can do with affirmations, it looks at where you're coming from. And if you're coming out of lack, you're going to create more lack. That's why if you have, I'm not good enough, is if that's your belief, try to compensate for it. They're always like chasing not good enough. It's like the donkey with the carrot, and you're never going to get there because it's never good enough, because that's like what you believe about yourself. So these patterns, they're just going to like repeat and repeat until you
get it. So
exactly.
So let's talk about the here and the now, right? We're in a time where it's challenging from the perspective of the virus, right? COVID. The pandemic has affected every angle of our lives. Some would say positively, others would say negatively. How can this approach help one during these times as we're going through this COVID pandemic?
Yeah. So I think when there is so much uncertainty, I use that, for example, I use that with athletes a lot that are not sure where they're going to play next year. For example, they know what. So here it is. What I think what is super important is in these times where nobody can predict what's going to happen. Clearly, we have to be agile and open, right? So, but you want to hold a vision of what it is that you want to create, what you truly want to create, what your heart wants to create, right? And not just what you're running away from. And then hold that vision. And at the same time, be open to how it's going to happen. Don't assume things because what you assume and project into the future is just solely based on the past, on what your experience was, right? And that's
On your
very,
perception.
yeah, exactly. And I mean, compared to what's possible in the universe on this planet, that is so little. So if you
Yes.
want to make assumptions, you're going to limit yourself to all the other possibilities on how you can get to your goal. So I think holding the vision, but being open to how it's going to happen, because you cannot predict that. The universe, if you believe in God, the creator, whatever, knows better than you. And your job is to hold the vision. And when there is, if he throws you a bone, or she, or the creator, whatever, right, then you go and get it. And that's how you go step by step. Is that, what would you say? Like, what's like your advice in these times?
Yeah, you're preaching to the choir. I agree with everything that you're saying, because particularly when the pandemic started, there were a lot of elements that I was not prepared to have to, experience. The shutting down of everything, the inability to see my mother in a home, who's in a home, the inability to see my relatives. And so there were a lot of things externally that were challenging for me. But my mindset was, and my faith was, that in spite of the challenges, the outcome would be a positive and good one. And when you say, whoever you believe in, yes, this is based on belief too. I think that for me, knowing and affirming, I do, affirm for myself that, you know, I had my prayers, I said what I said to keep me centered and focused on what I needed to do. And in a time when a lot of individuals it was very challenging, but staying focused, right? Because so many things are changing, you have to stay centered. So I agree with you 100%. I agree with you 100%. And as a career coach, I think this mindset is imperative, because if you apply for a position and you don't get chosen, it's not you, right? It's not you. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, that I think that hits something, well, that hits home, right? I mean, and we can also like turn it around, say, if I sell a new coaching program that I think, is going to be very good, and then it doesn't sell, or there's only two people or whatever, it's not because of me. We don't always have to take it personal, right? But that's what
Yes.
people who get stuck, that's what they do. They get stuck in their, they take it personal when something happens to them, and then they go into reaction and make up and say, oh, see, I always knew I don't belong here, and I always knew this is for others. And
Yes, yes, yes.
instead of just,
You
yeah,
keep on in that thread of negativity,
yeah,
and let's talk about toxic people, David. Let's talk about toxic people, because toxicity does not only exist in the body if you eat something that's not good for you, but it's also around you. And if we're talking about, if we're talking on a metaphysical level, let's talk about that. You said that when you were swimming, when in your swimming stage in your life, in your career, you were around individuals who told you that you can't, right?
well, it was, well, but I was really young, right? It was adults, right? Like they
I
were,
see.
so I wouldn't like, I would never say that these people were like mean or toxic. I mean, I know what you
Okay.
mean though. Let's go
Right.
like in the workplace, right? Because it was
Okay.
so long
Okay.
ago, right?
Right.
They just didn't know better, at the time. But if you
Yes.
have toxic people in the work environment, so I guess we are a bit blessed, because we can we picked each other to do this right online. So,
Yes. Yes.
but so just know, and I think this is very important, that you have the power to
Mm.
attract the people in your life that are on the same vibration as you, right? So, and then also, if you do happen to have to work with toxic people, I would just say again, if you give them your attention, which is attention is focus, you give them your energy, and what are you doing is you're giving the energy away, and you can see that person as a circumstance that you can't change, because you can't. You're not going to go, hey, you're a toxic person, can you please stop? That's just going to make it worse, right?
Yes. Right.
So, just again, just take self-responsibility and hang out with what you want to create, and then automatically will take care of itself. Automatically will have less and less to do with that person. She or he will not bother you anymore after a while, because you're just doing your thing, strengthening the relationships that are meaningful, and you're moving forward. What do you
Yeah,
think?
yeah, I think I'm going to take that a step further and say that individuals that may come across as toxic are actually there to teach you something.
Wow, that's
And
good.
and for me, individuals that I have come across that were very challenging, you know, I use the word toxic because it's a catchy word, right? It's you know, it's what we hear a lot. But really, individuals that I feel that are challenging are there to teach me something about myself, and that has always been the case. You know, I also think that individuals that I've felt that have hurt me, it was to teach me also something about myself. Invariably, it was for me to find my more worth in myself when I thought that I already did.
Who, you know, I think that's if the listeners can take something from that, then I think that that should be that is very, yeah, good that you took it to the next step. And I
You
mean,
have
so many,
to.
yeah, we can
You
look
have
back,
to.
right, on our
Yes.
lives too,
Oh,
and there's
sure.
the situations with that were the most effed up in a sense, and we were really hurt. They made us, something else came out of it. So the trick kind of is to, I mean, of course it's going to hurt, right? We're going to get hurt again. It's going to happen again. But the trick is to get out of it as fast as possible, and just, you know, kind of, you don't have to forget it, but move on anyhow, right? And see, look for the learning.
Okay. Now we're in a time where everything is very litigious. Oh, David, if I don't like what you said, I'm going to sue you. Yeah. Oh, I fell over in the street. I'm going to sue the.
Well, that's in America. In Switzerland, it's not like that.
Okay, let me say it in a Swiss way. Oh, I didn't like your banking practices. I'm going to sue you. Yeah, or yeah. Switzerland is no different, huh? Switzerland is on a different level, but the approach and the origin is the same. And so the way I see it is that one can continually blame others for their circumstances, but eventually you have to come to terms with yourself. Eventually you're going to have to say, what that person did, that experience is not me, does not consume or define me. I absorb it, take it, and then use it for positive outcome. That's a decision, David. That is a decision. And I'm not belittling any experiences that people may have had. Absolutely not. But there comes a point where you have to be responsible for yourself.
And I mean, from what I see, a lot of people struggle with that decision, right? They struggle. But here's, I mean, so yeah, that's why we're here, right? We're trying to support, and when the person is ready. And I mean, you know, this is, maybe we cannot change the whole world, but if we can change one life, like my life was changed through people that meant well and were there in the right moment and had like encouraging words, lent some belief and all that, we had a good day, right?
There you go. Like today's a good day already. Talking with a like-minded individual and sharing this space and putting this up in the universe, yes, plus a win-win-win. You know, what I would say to someone is that, what if you don't have anyone who's around you to be supportive of you? This is a good time to say to yourself, I deserve more. I deserve more. This is something else I feel like people don't hear that enough. You deserve more, right? Because life changes regardless of whether you're ready or not.
You know, there's what you're saying just brings me to another, it's a similar topic, but when you think about it, we come to the planet as infinite being, right? Like the bright star, and we land in the doom. And then we come to the planet, we think we're all one first, and then we start to create our individual sense of a human experience, because you are you, I am me, but that creates separation. So we're not all with like success and love and money anymore. We're separate, and we create these limiting beliefs like, I'm not good enough, I don't belong here, I need to be perfect, these things, right? And now I lost train of thought. What did we speak about just before?
Well, I mean, you were saying that, you know, when we come into this existence, it's contrary to how we how we live our lives tends to be contrary to what, yes.
Exactly. So, but here's the thing. This is just our limiting beliefs. This is not the truth. This is just what our mind comes up with. So the bridge from overcoming that is actually just to assume that you are whole. I assume that I am whole because look, guess what? I can see it in you. I can see the God in you. I can see it in freaking everybody I speak to if I want to, but I can't see it in me. I'm doubting myself. It's stupid. It makes no sense to assume everybody is like the namaste, the God in me sees God in you, but you don't see your own.
Well, okay, hold that. Hold that. Because maybe the thought process for individuals who do that think, well, I'm more fulfilled looking in the good in others. Like, I don't have to think about myself in that sense. But what I'm going to say, and I'll stretch that thread a little bit more, David, is that if you don't fulfill your potential, then you're not giving your all in this lifetime.
That's right.
Right? So it's like I could say, oh my God, David, I love everything that you do. You're fabulous. Like this and that. But if I'm not doing anything for myself, then I'm not reaching my potential. Let's talk about reaching potential. How do you reach your potential, David?
Yeah, you just said it. You become yourself. You become your authentic self. And by doing that, what you'll find, if you're not a psychopath, you will find that actually making it about the people you work with and not about yourself will give you the power. So it's about being a service to other people. But this, you are, as you said, you are of most service to others when you are yourself. Because, I mean, look, that's like if I'm a coach and I coach my athletes and they ask me, who's coaching you? And I have no coach. Then that's not congruent with what I'm saying. So, you know, if I tell everybody else to be themselves and all that, then the first thing I got to try, at least, you know, it's a lifelong pursuit, I reckon, right?
Yes.
But unless you get enlightened or whatever, but it hasn't happened. Yeah. So I would just say, like, be yourself, and that you'll be a huge success in life, you know?
Yeah. Practice what you preach.
Yeah.
Right. Practice what you preach. And I think there's a lot to that. There's a lot to those, you know, phrases we hear all the time. You know, how can I sit with my client and tell and talk to them about their strategy and not have a strategy myself?
Exactly.
Doesn't really make sense, does it?
Exactly.
So with this mindset and with this, you know, with your quantum sports psychology that you do, tell us about what you do when you're not meeting with clients. Like, what does your day-to-day look like over there in Switzerland? What do you do to keep yourself active?
Yeah, so I train mixed martial arts.
Oh,
which, you know, like in the cage. So I don't do any fights, but I do Brazilian jiu-jitsu tournaments. I haven't done one in a while, but I love to train with my gang here. And then, you know, I'm in a home office all the time, but I go out and I have lunches with my friends from banking, have coffees, and that way I stay connected. And, you know, they need coaching too, right? I mean, this is like this mindset thing can be taken anywhere really, as long as the people are cool, you want to work with them, you feel that connection. And so, yeah. And then traveling, I love traveling. It's a bit difficult at the moment,
a little
but,
challenging, yes,
yeah,
but you make it happen. You know, you make it happen. What was your most recent destination, David?
Ibiza.
Okay.
We had a retreat there. It was awesome. It was awesome.
Oh my goodness. So you were on the beach having fun in Ibiza, and where's your next destination?
Yeah, that's a good question. So my girlfriend, she has a fight in New York in January. She's fighting MMA professionally. And so I guess I'm trying to see if I can also get in somehow in the country, if we can get in. So then America would be nice.
It'd be nice to meet you in person, David.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I miss America. Trust me, I really do. I think it's it's a beautiful country, right? There's beautiful things here as well. But I miss it.
Yeah. So okay. So your partner is in MMR, mixed martial arts, MMA. Excuse me.
Yeah.
And so I guess we know who rules the house, right? Who runs the show there, right?
You would think, huh? You know,
Okay.
like the funny, when people ask me, so what happens when you guys fight? I'm like 6'3" and she's, I don't know, 5 short. And, you know, like Jungle Book, when
Yes.
Baloo and Mowgli comes
Right.
head down and Baloo is just like that. Yeah, so that's me and her.
Oh, really? Well, she's not there to defend herself, but I would dare say my money is on her. Now, you know, when you and I had our chat, you know, I'm a black belt in Taekwondo.
Yeah.
And, you know, I do believe that exercise, particularly in martial arts, helps center you. Let's talk about that. How does, how do you see martial arts building that center?
Well, I actually think it happens automatically because, like, look, when you're swimming, let me compare it to swimming. You
Yes,
jump
please.
in a pool, and then what's the worst that can happen? It's like you just have a slow time. But there can be all kinds of thinking while you're swimming. But when you're going in a ring or a sparring or whatever, I mean, the guy's trying to choke you out, he's trying to take you down, he's trying to hit your head, whatever. So you really don't have like much choice. You're not like thinking about tomorrow and later. You're very, very present automatically, right? Not saying you're always the best version of yourself, because I had a competition where I totally forgot what I learned. And I was like, I also didn't have thoughts, but I also didn't remember what I knew I could do in training. So,
Sure.
but still, I think the presence of just not having any other thoughts, that's pretty cool. What was it for you?
Yeah, I think that once I started getting the form right for each belt,
Mhm.
and then realizing what was my favorite you know, kick, like mine was flying side kick. I love flying side kick, you know. I think the confidence that, I think it was taking situations that I was going through at the time and channeling it to give me more strength. And that takes time, but that also builds that spiritual muscle. So for me, it was taking that strength and knowing that I'm empowering myself. So it was really for me, you know. And then it was also to, you know, make sure I have my black belt so that when my son has his kids, right, he's 16 now, but in the future for my grandchildren, you know, I always say this, they see my husband's black belt, he's second degree, my son's and mine, and they'll know that they can't mess with grandma. So, you know,
Yeah,
it's like,
awesome.
so, so yeah, we recommend it, right, David? To any listener, viewer, we recommend do any kind of martial arts. I don't care if it's Tai Chi, I don't know. Just do something.
Yeah, yeah.
Do it.
And go in with an awesome intention, like you just said, like, you know, just like a little bit of an intention before you start, and you'll pick up on it so much faster, right? You'll get to the right clues, and it's beautiful. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I will say I was also out of my comfort zone because in sparring, I would get hit
Yeah.
in my stomach, you know, and I would say that this is something that is contrary to what we do. We're always protecting ourselves, right? And so to willingly accept the fact that you're going to go and get punched, that is something else that builds resilience, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Right, David?
Yeah. And you get used to it, right? And then you
Oh,
can say,
yeah.
well, look, this is what I was really adverse to in the beginning. I didn't like it. I hated it. And you get used to it. It's not that I love it now, but you get used to it and you just live with it, right? It's just, I mean, there's so many parallels. So, and that's why, I mean, when we are starting here a program for my banker friends, which is over lunch 2 times a week, boxing, right? With my girlfriend and I, we're going to teach that. But we're doing, because we said we want to take the holistic approach, we're doing like a short mindset session on Monday evening over Zoom with the guys to kind of set the intention so they are aware of what they're learning while they're boxing, as you said, the comfort zone, learning about themselves and all that, because they're going to learn faster about it when they have the intention, when they know what they're learning.
Yes.
And then that'll translate automatically because they're smart people, right? Everybody is powerful. And once they're on the way, they realize, oh, if that's working, if I'm learning boxing so fast, I'm having so much fun, I'm feeling so good, then, well, let me try that. Because they're not stupid, right? They're
That's right.
intelligent.
Let me try that in the workplace, And I think that this is something that you hit that's very, very important. You know, the muscle that you build for yourself, you know, will vibrate in other aspects of your life, you know. And you're right, you know, the way I see it, you can't have one area of your life, how can I say, perfect, but not working on others. It's contagious. It ends up reverberating. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I mean, the times that we try to separate private life from work life, from hobbies, it's over.
Yes.
Old model. Very old.
Yes. That's talk about that. Talk about that more. Tell us why you feel it's an old model.
Ooh. I mean, it's just become very obvious to me that we cannot separate. I mean, just aware experience. Like if I'm pissed off, you know, like if my girlfriend is coming home that moment, then now, you know, I'll let her know. Probably she knows, she's picking up on it, but I can't just like, oh, now she's home and I'm all good, right?
Yes, that's right.
Just doesn't work. And I don't need to be like that. I want to be me. And being me is like, if I have negative emotions, well, then so be it. But, you know, I can't like separate. I'm killing myself if I tried.
So being true to oneself is understanding your emotions, right?
Yeah. And also understanding that they're not necessarily like a good representation of what's going on, right? They're just based on your past experience or my past experience. And if I get triggered, well, then here we go again. It's like the similar, always different color, different people, different, but it's disguised. It's always the same patterns that keep coming. And if you see
absolutely, definitely. I would say that I did observe certain patterns in my life, and I would get upset. Oh, you know, here's this person doing this, or oh my gosh, you know, I can't believe it. It's like finally I had a good chat with myself, and I said, Michelle, you can go on and keep on saying that this person did this and this, but it's you. You have to make the change. You have to make a determination for yourself what you want. You can blame David as much as you want. You know, oh, it's because of David. No, it's you. So I agree with you. I have a part of my show called Wait What? But before I go to it, is there any other knowledge that you would like to share, David?
I think we had a fantastic conversation, Michelle. No, you know, the first thing really that just the one thing that I always say is,
please,
the first step in anything is start to develop the vision of what it is that you want, right? And there, just a really simple exercise is to, close the eyes, imagine whatever you want, go in your land of big dreams, in your land of plenty. Nobody's disturbing you. Nobody's telling you what's possible, what is not. And start to hang out there and see what's there, you know, try not to have developed negative visions when you were, say, like you were poor when you were young and you want to never be poor again. That's a negative vision. It doesn't mean you can't be rich, but be rich because you want to do other good things, or it's got to come from the heart. And that vision doesn't come overnight, right? It's a bit of a,
it takes
right.
it takes getting a few licks, meaning getting hit many times in the gut. Okay. It takes a lot of self-discovery, a lot of eradication of old thoughts, and embracing new ones, right, David?
Yeah. But again, just go step by step, no overwhelm, you know, step by step. And the path is, I mean, you have until you die. So it's not that we are there, right? So better get started. So that's like the thing, you know, like that. You just got to get started. Doesn't need to be perfect. I tell you, we do a lot of visualization with the athletes, and they're asking me, you know, oh, Roger Federer is saying he's done 5 minutes a day. Djokovic is doing 20. What should I do? But they're like, oh, but David, I can't see any colors. What should I do? And I'm, you know, oh, this is the wrong question. You just start visualizing and you get better at it. If you want to be a YouTuber, you got to do YouTube videos. If you want to visualize, you got to visualize. You know, if you want to be a weightlifter, you got to go in a weight room. It's as simple as that. And it doesn't need to be perfect. and your mind is going to try a lot of things to stop you, but you just got to start, and everything else like confidence and all that stuff will fall in place. You just got to get going.
You got to get going. And so what does that mean? As a career coach, I would say this: if you want to change your career, change it. If you want to change your job, change it. If you want to change your relationship with X person, change it yourself. Don't wait for the circumstances to change for themselves. Do it yourself. You are in command of your life, no one else. And that's not hogwash. That's not hogwash. No. I would like to say that you and I made a determination that we wanted to meet each other. Yeah. And it happened. Now, I didn't know you, but I believe it. And the thing is, it's interesting. I find that people resonate more with negative circumstances than with positive ones. Oh, I'm sick. Oh, this and that. Oh, this happened to me. Why don't you take that same approach and think positively, right, David?
Oh, wow. Yeah, I guess. But look, that's also, I noticed that when on my Facebook news feed, right? I mean, what's happening is when I see a bunch of good news, I keep scrolling, but if there's a cop car crashing and it's like burning, I'll like click on it.
Yeah.
But that's what it is. But as you become aware of it, you get the power, right? And actually, like one of the tips that I also give for people that are a lot in their head and they're making their checklists, like, should I do this or that? What are the advantages? What's the disadvantage for both? And they can't really decide. It's like burn one of those options, like in a sense, if you want to, if you don't know if you want to quit your job, just quit, as you say, quit, and then that's over, and you got to move. There's you're propelling yourself to go forward. Yeah, there's no more option. There's a cool little story from back in Japan when they were fighting on the island still with swords, right? Samurai or whatever.
Yes.
They were there with a small army with 3 ships, and they were on the island fighting an army that was way, way, way bigger. And the commander of that small army, he knew that the people weren't like fully invested to like full and ready to fight because they had the ships there. And why don't we just go back? It's like stupid.
Yeah.
And so what did he do? He burned the ships. And he told the guys, look, we're going to triumph or we're going to die. And then they went in and they won big time.
Look at that.
Yeah, you gotta, that if that helps. I'm not saying it's for everybody, but
if you have to burn the ship, you got to burn the ship. That's how it is.
Yeah.
Burn the ship, burn the friendship, burn whatever you need to burn to make it work for you. All right, let's go to wait what questions, David.
All right, cool.
So wait what is where I ask interesting questions, hoping to elicit interesting responses. Are you ready?
Yeah. Do I have to get nervous here? Okay,
You're in good hands. You're in good hands. What's your favorite kind of music?
Hip hop. Like, I should make it like wall. Yeah, definitely like the gangster hip hop straight out of America. I'm
really. Well, give us your favorite band or rapper.
Well, that is so hard, right? You always say like, give me the top 5 or something, but like I would put Eminem, Tupac, put Biggie. I like Drake too. Rick Ross, yeah.
Ross, okay. And what's your least favorite kind of music?
Like 70s.
Okay, I'm gonna hang up now because that's my favorite kind of music.
Oh my God, is it really?
I love 70s and I love disco. Yeah. I love disco. Don't judge me, David.
But, Michelle, I'm not judging, but you don't take it personal, okay?
Oh, please. After all of that. After all of that, what kind of people do you swim away from?
Yeah, complainers. Ooh, I can't stand them, Michelle.
And why is that? Why is that?
Because I personally had that realization, right? That if I take self-responsibility, my life changes. And so if people that complain and I tell them this is like millions of people did it and they report about it, but they still complain. I can't help. And I'm just like, well, what, I got nothing for you.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. What's your favorite brand of Swiss watch?
Well, you got me here. To be honest, I don't even know, like, is Rolex Swiss? I think so. It's like the only one I know.
We'll take Rolex.
We talk Rolex. Pence, yeah, check.
What's your favorite kind of chocolate?
Oh, good question. I hate chocolate. I really gotta puke. Yeah, and I'll tell you a funny story. My bro also hates chocolate, and really, it's like allergic reaction. Not in a sense like that we're bad, but we gotta throw up when we smell it, or any kind of chocolate.
Really?
And when I had COVID like a year ago, I had COVID, and I couldn't taste and smell for 4 days, right? Yeah. Everything else was good, but I couldn't taste and smell.
Right.
So I took like a piece of chocolate where I would usually just throw up, right? And I started eating it, and I couldn't taste anything, but still, I still imagine, I didn't have to puke, but I still imagine, but I couldn't. That's the only time in my life that I had chocolate, when I had COVID. Never.
Look at that. Look at that. Okay. Do you prefer the backstroke, crawl, or butterfly?
Butterfly.
The butterfly.
Because the backstroke, I kept, when we were swimming outside and it wasn't like straight lines, I kept swimming in the lane ropes when I was doing backstroke. So fuck that.
Okay.
It hurts if you like swim and you like hit the lane. Oh, it like really hurts the fingers.
Does it really hurt? Okay. Nicholas Weinman was a 16th century Swiss German writer who wrote about what subject?
Do you know the story? Hitting apples from people's heads.
No, he wrote about swimming.
He did. I could have known that. Okay, interesting.
And he suggested great methods of swimming, and to stay afloat, he recommended using calf bladders.
Okay, it's like an old school version of a surfboard.
Yeah, old school. When you didn't have Amazon, you had to go around and kill your animal and stay afloat. But hey, that's how it is. Okay, last question. What scares you the most? Snakes on a plane or germs on a plane?
Snakes.
Okay.
Oh, I'm like, I don't know why. Like the snakes, it's I don't know. They freak me out a little bit. Maybe I should, like go and actually touch one and have one around to become more friendly.
To get around, to get over that.
Yeah, definitely snakes.
Well, David, this was a pleasure. It was such a pleasure chatting with you, right?
Likewise, Michelle. Thank you. And thanks for all the learnings. I think that was a very, very good conversation. I appreciate it. And I appreciate you.
I appreciate you too. And you promised, so make sure when you come to New York, you give us a shout. You let me know so that we can meet up for a coffee or drink. No hot chocolate. No hot chocolate. No. Okay, no hot chocolate. But it'll be cold, so it'll be fun. New York City in the wintertime is lovely. So it'd be great to meet up, and I wish you the best. If someone wanted to get in contact with you, how can they do that?
Yeah, the easiest I think is, so I have a webpage, which is davidkarasek.com. And then also on social media, it's just David Karasek. It should come up.
Excellent. Cool. Well, David, I thank you again. It's such a pleasure. I'm sure we'll meet in person. Thank you, dear listeners and dear viewers. Hope you enjoyed the interview. Like us, like the Global Advocate Career Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe. And also let us know what you thought about the interview. All right. Thank you so much. See you next time. Take care.